actually is over 10% of the Kenyan population that actually derive its livelihood around our tea. Enjoy the perfect cup of Melvin's tea. 2 leaves and a bun in your cup, in your home.
Flora Mutahi is a seasoned entrepreneur and dynamic business leader with over 28 years of experience in manufacturing, real estate, and board governance. She is the founder and CEO of Melvin International Limited and Azizi Realtors Limited, both based in Nairobi, Kenya. Flora currently serves as an independent non-executive board member for Old Mutual Holdings PLC. Her leadership roles extend to chairing organizations such as the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the Anti-Counterfeit Agency, and the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. She has also served as a board member of the UN Global Compact in New York and the Export Promotion Council. She's an expert in building international brands, penetrating new markets, and fostering sustainable practices. Flora is recognized for her visionary leadership. She has a proven track record of driving growth, innovation, and transformation. Through her work with Melvin's and the Kenyan Association of Manufacturers, she initiated and expanded the Women in Manufacturing program, directly mentoring over 130 women. Flora is deeply committed to mentoring and empowering entrepreneurs across sub-Saharan Africa and is a catalyst for embracing innovative strategies to maintain relevance and competitiveness in dynamic markets. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause once again for Flora Mutahi.
Onegwe, as we have been shown this today, but here in East Africa we say habari zenyu. With no funds, no plans, no roadmap, all I did 28 years ago is shakily say that I want to get into business. It took the college dean of where I was doing my professional exams to actually single me out and tell me, I don't think you look very committed to what you're doing. And I said, yeah, I wanna go into business, but I'm not sure. And the one bit of advice he told me is, do not get stuck in mediocrity. Be true to yourself and step out with courage and decide what you want to do. My next hurdle was my boss. I had worked for only 9 months. I went through college as one of those kids who were not really sure what I want to do, and when I got really harassed by the college master what to do, I said I wanted to go into accountancy, purely because, in fact, my father's advice was just do accountancy because it comes easy. So I chose to get into accountancy, and this is when the college dean found me. So from there, when I wrote my letter of resignation, my boss, curiously asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, business. And she said, what is that? And I was like, buy, sell. I was a kid. I really didn't know what was going on. So strategically, she actually told me, go bring file X, Y, and Z, because she was an auditor of family businesses and actually a family friend. And she walked me through a couple of files and she said, look at this one. Several years ago, this is what they're turning over. Look at them today. Look at this one. They were trading in any trade that came about, whether it's clothes or cars or whatever. Look at them today. So by the time she got to her third file, I started understanding what she was saying. And she told me, Flora, whatever you do, make sure you build a legacy business, a business that is not wholly dependent on yourself and really can go on for generations. My third hurdle, same day, this is 2 days later, I go home and I tell my parents I resigned from my 9 months job and I want to get into business. And they looked at me and they said, girls don't do that. We took you to school, you have studied globally. We think you should have stayed in a job and gotten married. And actually, as a family, I think if you want to go that route, perhaps you better leave this home. And I looked at my parents who really had never thrown this gender card at me. And I said, what do you mean as a woman I'm supposed to get married? And they said, well, because in their time, in the 90s, jobs were what you did. They got good jobs. Careers were thriving. And actually, people who were in business were really the people who are not doing well in jobs. So needless to say, anyway, they didn't throw me out. 3 weeks later, they're both seasoned entrepreneurs, so we became friends again. But still was the looming question, what do you want to do? So like you heard, my name is Flora Mutahi. I'm the founder, CEO of Melvin's Tea, a business I began 29 years ago. And today I'll tell you the story of my journey and how I'm still here. And hopefully we'll have a conversation that will impact. So approximately 80% of MSMEs in Africa fail within the first 5 years. And this is against a global average of 45%. This is according to Investopedia. According to the World Bank, Africa has the highest number of entrepreneurs, and a large percentage, unfortunately, being survival entrepreneurs, people who get into it because of poverty or no other opportunity. And this high failure rate, the 80% high failure rate, is largely contributed to challenges such as harsh economic environment, limited access to capital, inadequate business practices, poor managerial skills, lack of proper business structures, making it difficult for businesses to survive beyond the 5 years and really to scale if they want to be global or international. So if we address this, however, with such a population as 1.4 heading to 2.5 within the next, by 2030, I think it is, Africa has a great potential to really harness this entrepreneurial spirit that is really become what I would call almost a revolution. Back to my journey, it actually began on a dining table when we were having a meal with a family, and I started, this is after the 3 weeks, we are now friends, and I said, why don't we have free-flowing salt in the country? So my parents look at me and say, what is that? And I said, salt that will flow freely from the salt shaker. You don't have to keep adding rice, and it needs to be dry. And I sort of explained it, and they were like, casually said, so why don't you do that? And I thought, that's not a bad idea, but I had no clue. But remember, I had no job now. I had no career. So what I did is I went to a university that was around the corner, and I asked for the Dean of Food Science, and I asked him, please, could you help me come up with a product? I know the product I want. I know it's not available in the market, and I think I can do something. So he asked me, are you in food science? And I said, no. And he said, well, anyway, lecturers being lecturers, he did what he did. He said, commit to 3 weeks. Every afternoon, come here between 2 and 4 o'clock, and we'll make your product. And I did exactly that. And within 3 weeks, we had my product. But then came the next challenge. Where am I going to get my funding? Remember, I had no funding, no plan, no nothing. So I went back home and I said, please, can I have some money? And they're looking at me like, excuse me, this was your vision, your plan. We took you to school. Make your own way around this. So again, I went around to the market and I found a fund it was a collateral-based female fund backed by the IFC. And they said, if you put up half the collateral, we'll give you the other half. And I said, brilliant. I go bouncing back home and I say, listen, put up half. And they're like, what part of no don't you understand? Long story short, the course meant I had to do business growth. But what I did as a stubborn child is I wore down just one. I decided divide and conquer. So I conquered my mom, cordoned off my mom. And finally, she agreed to put up half the collateral, and the bank gave me just a little bit to get my journey going. I got my equipment. I paid for an office space. Can you imagine? I put a manufacturing plant in an office space. It was small, a little mixing unit. And there we were off to the journey. And that was my first product that you can see, Melvin's free-flowing salt. So I put that into the market and I go to deliver it. My first order was 2 dozens. My second order was 100 dozens from a hotel that saw the value in dry table salt. So when I gave them the invoice after delivering, they said, oh, come back after 90 days. And I'm like, what do you mean 90 days? And they said, well, that's how we pay. And I said, what do you mean? I had actually literally now run out of money, so I was borrowing money. And they said, that's what we do. And so I said, my goodness. So what I did is I decided I'm going to wear these guys down. And I went back every day for like 4 days. And one gentleman says, oh, my mother's packing tea. And I said, what's up in tea? And when he showed me the opportunity in tea, I was like, wow. And I realized at that moment, salt was only $100 for a ton. I'll never make money in this thing. So within 3 weeks, I knew I needed a new product. So back to the university, and I came up with tea. I went to get my product registered in Mombasa, which is the coastal town where there's a tea auction. And some gentleman asked me, lady, why would you think you can come up against a monopoly? Because there was a monopoly at the time, but had just been lifted. And I said, because I can. And they said, don't be that arrogant. It's going to be difficult. So their words didn't leave me. And on my way back from Mombasa, I said, what is it they're trying to say? And I said, aha. What I'm going to do is I have to do something different with my product. So I started thinking different packaging, colors, etc. And I got home and I liked ginger in my tea. I tried to put, and I went to make the tea and there's no ginger. So I went back to the shops, bought the ginger, and there was my aha moment. And voila, I said, I'm going to put ginger in my tea. And that's when I came up with Melvin's ginger tea and a Melvin's plain tea. And I said, let me put both in the market and see what happens. As luck would have it, the ginger tea really took off. It was a difficult start, definitely, but it took off in the market. People kept saying, can I have a little bit more? Can I have a little bit more? And, from there, then I knew I was onto something. So looking at our timeline, I started in 1996. I expanded. In 1998, I met a fund that said, listen, we will take you and help you take your product global. The statistics of tea in Kenya is 97% of our tea at that time was exported in bulk. And I said, I'm going to change this statistic. I'm going to package this tea locally and I'm going to take it globally. So I had to quickly come out with other flavors because they said you can't go with one. So I did masala quickly, vanilla, and cinnamon. Long story short is I went out and obviously I was nowhere near ready, fell flat on my feet, but I was still selling in the local market. So I continued that going. In 2004, one of the local large supermarkets asked us, listen, we like the way you do your stuff. Can you contract pack for us another product? So it was rice. And I said, okay. And their orders were, it was contract packing, so easy money, I thought. And I started that journey, but it completely derailed me from what I was doing. The supermarket actually came crashing down. Luckily for me, I had just removed my money. And so I went into focusing back in my business. In 2010, we continued to launch different flavors. I went into herbals and fruit infusions. 2014, I thought, how about a cafe? So I came out with a Melvin's Cafe. Put it out in one of the prime areas in Kenya, Lavington. 2016, we launched other flavors. And in 2018, I launched my black tea. Remember when I began, I had started with the black tea. My flavored teas all picked up, but the black tea plain never made any sense. In 2018, when we actually mirrored it to the rest, is when it started making sense, after failing 5 times. 2020, of course, the world shut down and everybody was at home, fortunately for us, and they drank a lot of tea. But when people started going back to offices, we noticed, headcount was very limited. So we quickly came out with Melvin's vending machines. So we have vending machines that you can put in the office and you can get tea with chocolate, tea with coffee, mochas, and the like. And 2023, we actually came out with tea sticks. Was this a challenge? Of course. I have had every single challenge in the book. Call it challenge, lack of information, lack of data, skills. I went to the university to try and train. Finances, I've done SACCO, I've done personal lending, I've even traded on the side, gone to China and Bangkok and bought stuff and come and then pumped the money back into the business. Market acceptance, who are you? You're a female. Who are you? We're so used to this monopoly. Supply chain issues, people telling you, no, I'm not going to list your product. I only know the multinationals. Societal acceptance, women don't do business. Competition, we have over 500 registered tea packers in Kenya. So to stand out in that melee was really, really a difficult challenge. Regulatory issues, you name it, we were there. But fortunately for me, I was called to join an association, being a manufacturer. And then I realized right there that they can help me with my regulation challenges. What was my turning point? I think persistence is actually what kept me going on my journey. What lessons have I learned? Number one is to be unapologetic. Don't ask, just do. And if you need to ask for forgiveness, do just that. Cash is king. When I started my first product, I realized quickly, this is not going to work. Come out with something else. Don't lend too much to the business. Collect as your whatever. Don't fear debt. Especially us females, we are known to fear debt. We go to the bank and they say, can we have collateral? You're like, I'm not sure, I don't want to give my house. Whereas a man would have given his house, his car, and everything else. So don't fear debt if you have a good business model. Plan with the future in mind. Where do you want to go? Let's not start these small survival businesses where you're just looking for the next step. Invest in learning. To lead is to learn. I keep saying you've got to be learning. Today, 29 years later, I'm still learning. Fail forward. You remember I told you about the tea, I failed 5 times. I kept coming back with a different name. I had Chai Taifa, premium tea. Right now it's called Melvin's, black chai. I kept going because there was no way I was going to quit. Adapt and evolve, because that's what the market does. You've got to move with your customer. Basically, what I'd call it, I'd summarize all that and say you have to have a growth mindset. What would be my lesson to my younger self? If I spoke to myself 28 years ago, what really, really would I say? And I'd say, if you really want to build a legacy, a business that is going to last, do so with clarity of purpose. You must have passion for what we do. A survey by Deloitte found that 88% of successful entrepreneurs attribute their success to passion and persistence. So if you don't have that, you're 88% out. So this opportunistic way of starting business is not the way to do it. Have passion, be clear that what you want to do is what you want to do. You have to be clear, what problem are you solving? According to a CB Insight, 42% of startups fail because there is no market need for their product. We come out with a product and say, hey, I'm trying to sell this product. No. Find out what the market needs, sort out, get them what they need, and then tell them, here it is, and go and look for that market. The third thing is have a clear vision and mission. Clarify it. A study by Bain and Company found that companies with well-defined values and missions and visions outperform the market by 15% over a 10-year period. So if you're not sure and you're flip-flopping, and I've seen them, a lot of people registered to be tea packers. I mean, I think we stand third in the market right now. We are regional, we are now going global. Well, we've gone global and we continue to go that way. But people who are not clear in their mission with that single focus don't actually make it. The second area I would say is build a firm foundation. You must have a clear business model. And they actually say companies with good business models have a 60% higher revenue growth. And a good example of this is Netflix. It actually started as a DVD rental company, and they pivoted to a streaming model, which has become their key success. So you really have to clarify your business model and keep coming back. It's an iterative issue. Strong governance. Africa, we already have issues around governance. Make sure if you're doing a business, it has good governance. Who does what, who double checks what, where are your controls. Finances is a big issue. We try to run businesses out of bootstrapping. There are banks, there are loans, there are financial institutions. There are very, very many models that could do this. Building a strong team. To lead, you don't have to do the work. If you're trying to build a business, a legacy business, it's not you to do everything. Build a strong team. Attract good talent. Keep them with you and make sure that they do. Apparently, a strong team culture gives you a 25% more likely chance of being industry leaders. An example is Google. You know, we all know very well that it emphasizes a lot on strong teams. The third one is systems and processes. You must have strong marketing systems, strong sales systems, and efficiency, drive efficiency at whatever cost. Technology right now is your best friend. How I used to market, I used to go to TV channels and try and beg for spaces. Today you can do it with social media. It's much, much more of a fraction. So finally, right in the middle, you can see leadership. You are the leader. I cannot overemphasize the importance of you as a leader. Have a growth mindset, continue to grow, continue to lead, and continue to learn. And as I conclude, with 88% of successful entrepreneurs attributing their success to actually passion and persistence, and considering the failure rate of African businesses, actually startups, the failure rate right now is 1 in every 2 will actually fail. We really, really need to ensure that we are not only passionate, but we have courage. We must persevere. We must learn how to wrestle with risk. And this is what I'm calling a growth mindset. It can be done. I've done it. With a strong mindset, correct preparation, using the foundational principles, like I'm saying, clarity, foundation, systems, and processes. This can be done 29 years later and still counting. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better time than today to be an entrepreneur. The world is a global village. The internet has revolutionized entrepreneurship. It has enabled businesses to access resources and markets with a click of a button. We have so many trade agreements, the AfCFTA, we have AGOA, we have COMESA. There's so much going for us as entrepreneurs. It can be done. We can build businesses that will last. if we build it with passion and we build it with grit. Let me leave you with an interesting statistic. One study showed that 93% of Gen Zs are exploring entrepreneurship, reflecting a shift in career aspirations amidst economic instabilities in all the countries that we know. So the question to us is, what do we need to do to make it happen? We are here, we are available, and to the entrepreneurs in the room, step into it. It is done, it is not that difficult. Those are our products 29 years later and still going strong. Success is not about personal gain, it's also about empowering others. Who are we carrying along? You heard I mentor women and youth. And for those of you who want to see how strong you are in the 3 tenets I said, there's an entrepreneurial business assessment that if you took out that QR code, check it out, and you'd see whether you're strong in business or not. And like I said, look for the solutions, they're there. Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Flora Mutahi, ladies and gentlemen. That was very, very inspirational, very strong. Thank you so much, Flora. I think we should just get right into it. I think the energy is up. I think we should just go straight into the panel discussion for today. But I won't be the one taking you on that. I will hand over to someone who is more presentable. Yes. I call her the mother